So today we're going to be talking about end-user computing, specifically as it pertains to Horizon version 6.0. So what are we going to be talking about? So 6.0, what is new in Horizon 6? This one's kind of one of my favorites. In Horizon 6.0, we are introducing the idea of extending the cloud pod architecture. So what does this mean? The idea is this, that we want to ensure that every user has as clear and as seamless and as low a latency, highly performant type of experience with their virtual desktop environment or as is possible, right? And user compute in its purest form should kind of seamlessly fold into their daily life. And that's what you're going to see with the stuff that we're doing with Horizon 6. So we talk about the pod architecture. The big improvement that's been made is our ability to create an Active Directory replication between points or sites, right, as we talk about the pods. That means that when a user logs in let's say, New York, right, he's going to get access to the machines that he needs. And that New York site is going to have knowledge of the machines that he's accessed. But then let's say he goes to London or he goes to Belgium or he goes to Florida, right? Whatever the load balancer says that is going to be best based upon the geography that he's living in, now the Active Directory is able to keep up with that. So we actually have replication inside of the Active Directory, inside of the end-user compute platform. This is a little bit of a deeper technical architectural kind of change, but I think it's very important for us all to carry that message out, because what this means is now when you're talking about doing multiple site Horizon deployments, you now have a bunch of really cool technology standing behind you to help make these big deployments that much easier. Single namespace, having the Active Directory information replicated across all of the connection points, and being able to have like a global entitlement layer, right? So that everything is being managed across the world from a single point of administration. That, to me, having been a former administrator, is very, very exciting, remarkably powerful, and it also means that when we have less stuff being tweaked, that we have a higher opportunity for success. And I think that's just fantastic. As I mentioned in the quick introduction, this has been one that's been kind of on the tip of everybody's tongue, right, is hosted apps with Vue. Effectively, what's being done is we are leveraging kind of the classic, RDS server architecture to allow for streaming of applications from those servers, which can be virtual, right out to whatever the target may be. And that could be an iPad, could be an Android device, could be a Mac, could be Windows device. Doesn't matter. So what's it going to look like? Again, I think the big thing here, like I said before, users come to work, and the one thing we know from their use cases and how they interact with their material is they really don't care. They don't care how they're getting stuff. They just know, I need to get into Visio. I need to get into PowerPoint. I need to get into Access or Internet Explorer or Safari or whatever it is. And as we look at more and more of the adoption rates and more of what mid-market is doing, you're seeing these highly heterogeneous environments where people are walking down the halls with tablet devices. People are viewing applications on their phones. Just last night, one of my colleagues asked me for a set of files. I was on the road. When I got to the parking lot where I was going, I was able, using Horizon, to send him the file that he needed before I went into the building, right? Even I, knowing how all the bits work, when it comes time to use them, I'm really not thinking about that. I'm just thinking that I need to move this over there, right? And I need something easy that lets me do it. So when we look at at the hosted applications, the big idea here is to make it seamless. We want it to be an experience where the users aren't having to really feel all the change, right? And so this is very important for us, and that's something that you're going to see. In addition, like I said, beyond just the desktops, when we talk about tablet devices, right? VMware understands there's kind of two very clear camps, and both of them are equally passionate. There's the Apple camp, and for iOS, and there's all the people with little stuffed versions of Andy the Android out there on their desk. And so with that, we've ensured that we have adoption across both of these platforms. So inside of Virtual SAN, one of the more important things, and some of you have been on some of my vSAN calls, and you've seen and you're relatively familiar with the fundamental concepts, but for those of you that aren't, we'll kind of do a quick recap. The big idea, and the reason that Virtual SAN is creating such a tremendous splash inside of the industry, is because it allows you to take localized disks on the servers and to be able to create a virtual storage area network without the necessity for LUNs and all of the additional administration surrounding normal SAN environments, and to be able to present that, and especially to be able to present it with an architecture that is optimized for things like read-intensive workloads. And it would just so happen that one of the most read-intensive workloads out there today is virtual desktop and user compute. So our new integrations and hooks into Virtual SAN allow you to present a really clear solution for your customers. Best of all, Virtual SAN is exceptionally scalable. You can start with as little as 3 hosts, each containing a minimum of 1 solid-state disk and 1 spinning disk, 1 regular hard drive. That's all each host needs to get started. But they can grow up to a capacity of 32 hosts inside of a cluster, supporting north of 4 petabytes of information. And I just need to repeat that because sometimes I don't even believe that I said that word. Over 4 petabytes of data, and supporting over 2 million IOPS. And the best part is it can grow granularly. If a customer just needs to start with 3 hosts, they need to start kind of pokey little puppy, but then they want to add 1 more and another, and then they have a big growth spurt, they need to add 3 more hosts, that's fine. You can grow it that way. Or you can grow it all at once. So there's a ton of granular scalability, which means that when you're having a conversation with your customers and you're talking about end user compute and the conversation loops around to storage, that it's no longer going to come to a grinding halt. Because now you have a tremendous different avenue that you can inject into the conversation to give them new alternatives and new ways to think about how they're going to align storage with their end user compute solution. We all know there's multiple parts to Horizon. We've talked a little bit about the Horizon View component, which is directed toward application virtual desktop. And when we look at what the user interacts with, what you're seeing here is Horizon Workspace. So inside of Horizon Workspace, see the user has all sorts of different things they can access. They have desktops. They've got maybe ThinApp applications, right, that I told you about before. They have SAML-based applications. Applications like Google or ADP or Salesforce, those sorts of things. They may even have non-SAML applications, things like Facebook, LinkedIn, right? Things that might be localized to their company that they want to be able to control and give a clear portal for their employees to use. And now with application streaming, they're going to have their RDS hosted applications living there right side by side with everything else. But in addition to all of that, to having the virtual desktops, and the hosted apps, and the thin apps, and the Google apps, and the SaaS-based applications, like I said, things like Axiom or Salesforce or ADP or whatever it is, they're also going to have the ability to see their Zen apps listed there as well. This means that when you have customers that maybe they already made a big investment and they've got a Zen app farm standing up already. Inside of those environments, it's not necessarily easy to have a clear transition. And for any of us that have ever dealt with, either trying to upgrade a Zen app farm or being able to, move applications, into it or out of it, while it's not impossible, it can be relatively intensive. And so because of that, the one thing we did not want to do is make Horizon an all or nothing solution, right? This is about leveraging current investments. You'll hear that repeatedly when anybody talks about VMware, because it's true. We want to leverage the current investments that they have, leverage the current talent that they have, and then expand out from there and make everything that we do truly ecosystem friendly. So to be able to have Horizon hosted applications from RDS, Thin apps, Citrix Zen apps, all of these things living side by side and creating a seamless experience back to the customer is of the utmost importance to us. In addition, we've also seen that there's been a huge tidal wave of adoption around Office 365. Personally, I think it's a great platform. One of the hardest and trickiest things for a lot of customers when it comes to something like Office is in the administration of the back end. All the Exchange servers and the SharePoint servers and the project servers and all of this stuff. Office 365 gives customers, especially around mid-market and entry-level enterprise, the ability to have all of these really cool, productivity suite tools without having to have a huge infrastructure on the back end. But one of the things that is tricky about it is it uses a very unique form of authentication. So from our perspective, what we've done is we've adopted and made allotments for that form of authentication. So we now also have the ability to include Office 365 inside of our apps. But it's more than just providing all this stuff. Once you provide all this stuff, somebody's got to make sure it stays working. And, one of the hardest parts for administrators, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The hardest part about, issue resolution, it isn't ever in fixing the problem. Heck, most of the time fixing the problem is easy. The hard part is finding the problem. Finding the problem sometimes can be like a needle in a haystack full of other needles, right? Where everything looks like something else. Everything is something else's problem, and you're never really sure, what's going on. We're making all sorts of new investments and new advancements when it comes to vCenter operations, especially as it relates to Horizon 6. Most specifically, we're integrating support for the RDS hosted application. So in addition to seeing their Horizon servers and their desktops and all of this sort of stuff, they're also going to be able, down to the process level of the application, they're going to be able to see the performance of the RDS hosted application either through the pool or at the individual layer. Right? This is tremendous. In addition, we've increased scalability up to 25,000 users with just one deployment of VCOps for View. Horizon 6 is going to be available in 3 editions, and we've kept this as simple as is possible to ensure that there's consistency across all of our suites and platforms and naming conventions. We want to continue to strive to make this as easy as we can for you to communicate to your customers. You're going to have Horizon View Standard. Horizon View Standard is kind of what it says, right? it contains the bits to stand up a virtual desktop infrastructure. We see there's going to be a huge play inside of Horizon Advanced. Horizon Advanced is where all the bells and whistles come in, right? Things like virtual SAN and the hosted applications and all of these neat and cool and groovy things all happen right inside of Horizon Advanced. So there's going to be a sweet spot for you there when you're talking about what's going to fit your customer's environment. But we also know that there are customers that are kind of sitting at that higher echelon where they may be talking about, how do I use this to, to deploy 10,000 desktops and 500 applications and all this, sort of craziness. And so for that, we have integrations with Horizon Enterprise, okay? So you're going to have 3 simple additions to call upon in order to motion this to your customers. So it's really not at all nearly as difficult as, trying to, pull individual bits, from different solutions. So what's included inside of each of these Horizon additions? Well, let's take a look. So we can see here that inside of Standard, like I said, keeping it pretty simple, very straightforward. Horizon View Standard will include Horizon View, right, to stand up the virtual desktop infrastructure. And you all heard me say this before, I'll say it again, is that Horizon View is probably by far the easiest virtual desktop infrastructure in the world to stand up, okay? So high levels of success, easy way to communicate to the customer, everybody's happy, you look like a hero, it's good stuff. In addition, you also get the licensing for the hosts that you need to run those desktops on, okay? That's the vSphere desktop, okay, as needed. In addition, you get the ability to package thin applications, okay? So as I mentioned before, what this means in View Standard and what a thin app application does, let me just give you that case scenario one more time, is that would be an application, let's say, like Skype, right? And you don't want to install it on the desktop. You want to give it to people to use, okay? A thin app application can do that, and you can even deliver it on a USB stick, however you want to do it, and it will not install on the machine. It just runs on its own. But it's important to know that thin app application needs to run, okay, or to be activated on top of the same type of platform that it was created on. So at this time, that's going to be Windows to Windows. So if they, capture it on a Windows machine and they package it up, they need to run it on a Windows machine. Okay? As you saw in my example with the Notepad++ that was showing there, it said, you can't run this because that was a thin app application that was captured on Windows, and I was trying to run it on a Mac. Okay? So it said, no, I can't do that. It would have run it on a Windows machine, but not on my Mac. So that's the restriction with a thin app. Now, customers go up to advanced. You can see they get all kinds of new cool stuff, right? We add, hosted applications. So now they've got the ability to do the RDS hosted apps. So now they can not only deliver the thin apps, but they can deliver those cross-platform applications. So if they want to take, Skype or Notepad++ or Access or Excel or whatever, Internet Explorer, whatever it is, and they want to publish that and make it available to their iOS, Android, Mac users, whoever they've got connecting to it, they can do that. Okay, that comes in advanced. In addition, they get the additional functionalities inside of Workspace, all right, for the application catalog, right? Things like, integrating the remote desktop streaming applications, the ability to integrate SaaS applications, okay, things like, again, Google and Salesforce and ADP or whatever it is, the ability to drop those applications, the thin app applications, into that workspace so people can trigger them as needed, and the ability to integrate with Citrix XenApp. Okay, so there's another whole host of items that are added inside of Advanced. In addition, they also get virtual SAN for the hosts that are running their end user compute platform. So not only are they getting the seats that they need, the applications that they need, they're getting licensed for the hosts for the compute that they need, and they're also getting licensed for the for virtual SAN for those hosts that are providing this service. So we've given one SKU that you can call upon that gives your customers pretty much everything they need inside of that advanced tier to get going, right? There's very little that they're going to see about Horizon that they can't do inside of advanced. Right? So that's why we see there's such a huge sweet spot here, okay? Now, we move up to enterprise. Enterprise has, even more stuff, right? Sure, you've got the thin app applications, you've got hosted apps, and the Zen app and SaaS, and you've got, virtual SAN. But in addition to that, you're getting vCenter Operations Manager for View, okay, the thing that I was showing you to be able to, track and have full insight into the environment so that you can see the desktop, the individual application, whatever you need. In addition, you're also getting the operations dashboard inside of VCOps so that you do like health monitoring and analytics and all of that. And then at the very top there, you see that we've also added vCenter orchestration into this. What does that do? I'll give you the quick rundown. vCenter Orchestrator is probably the least publicized, coolest tool your customer will ever see. It allows them to create that anything as a service type environment. I have a new user. All I want to do is create a new user and have all of this stuff happen. And I want them to get desktops, and I want them to get applications, and I want them to get, logins and keys and this and that, and, all sorts of access to anything that they need. vCenter Orchestrator gives you that capacity to be able to plug in and create true forms of automation and orchestration across the virtual environment. You can see why that's going to be especially critical for those enterprise-type customers. All right? They have a lot to do in a very short amount of time. Draw your attention back, like I said, to advanced. I think this is really going to be a sweet spot when we talk about customer placement, because it gives them everything they need to really get up and running and position this. Again, we look at the bundles. There are 3 bundles: Horizon View Standard Edition, Horizon Advanced Edition, and Horizon Enterprise Edition. Okay? And, these standalone products, go in addition to that, right? You're going to have things like Horizon Mirage, right? If, the customer wants to, just take that or just, use Horizon Mirage for upgrading desktops, if they want to, just purchase the Horizon View Standard add-on, these are all going to be available. However, the best bang for the buck is going to be inside of the editions. With that, I would like to thank you all